if the FP3 session from the Mexico Grand Prix showed us anything, it's that if we do get another Hockenheim tomorrow, which it's likely we will, it's going to be very difficult for the drivers. And usually I'm kind of against the rooting for like wet conditions just because it's very unsafe. This circuit, you have to be very slow, so I think it's going to be challenging, and I think for the most part it'll be safe. I'm still not rooting for it, but for the sake of an entertaining race and making it difficult for the driver, I think this is a better circuit for that at elevation. But yeah, it's wet, and let's get straight into it. So I'm going to go straight to the results first, and then the commentary second. Got some feedback loud and clear from you guys, so just want to make sure I hear you. I read all these, and obviously I comment to the best of my ability. But Charles Leclerc first to get the Ferraris, just continuing the train. And again, the scary part is we don't know if they've even turned anything up yet. So you blink and you could miss Vettel just behind Leclerc. That's how close they are. But Valtteri is at a 1:16.259, so not too far off either. And you've got Lewis, who still is struggling to keep pace. This is just not his. This has never been his circuit the past few years, and I think he's pretty open about that. I don't think this is typical Lewis talking to talk, jib-jabbing. I think this is really, he just doesn't like it. And a surprising Carlos Sainz. Now, again, there's a couple things at play that made this possible. Verstappen, who... So I'm not going to, it's still a great lap time. The 1:16.638, that's not that far off of Lewis Hamilton. So I will say Verstappen was impeded on his run with on his actual, his flying lap by an Alfa Romeo. So that didn't help him at all. But he did 12 laps at a 1:16.903, so Carlos was able to step in front of him. Not many of the drivers were, the track was pretty wet, so there wasn't a ton of running. To be honest with you, this was a pretty boring session, but it did show how reluctant some people were out there on slicks, and the intermediates got shredded. It was like that awkward period where you couldn't go slicks or intermediates, so most people were just like, I'm not running. So you had a lot of people not even able to get in the car. Vettel, who had a sensor problem, and the Renaults didn't step foot in the cockpit. Well, Hulkenberg got one lap in, but let's continue on. So Pierre Gasly, who was actually reported initially as too sick to race, this is actually going across the entire paddock. And this is the support staff for the most part. Some drivers aren't feeling well, and Gasly was one of the only drivers to report it, but he almost didn't even race. So he just hopped in his cockpit and hopped in his car and ran a P7. So it's really, really impressive by him. He seems to be just doing really well without the pressure. Albon got his chassis changed within curfew, all good there, no penalties. He's good to go, ready to rock and roll at a 1:16.094. There's not much to say here. I think the wet conditions made it so not many people could run regardless. He got a lot more laps than some of the other drivers at 19, but yeah, nothing too impressive. But speed wasn't really what they were going to get out of the session. Now, quali is going to be fascinating because they're forced. They have to, and especially if it's going to rain tomorrow, you're going to get a lot of VSCs. There's going to be a lot of undercut at play. There's going to be some strategy. So you just want to qualify just like normal, as high up as possible, but this time more than normal if it does end up raining. So if you, I feel like I always say this, but if you're going to watch a qualifying session today, make today, seriously, Mexico, make it the one where you pause work if you can and throw it on. And if you guys, let me know in the comment section below if you're still here. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe. Sometimes I'll give you super long commentary, short commentary. But if you guys want like an audio version of a live broadcast, at least I can definitely do that too. So if you guys are at work and want to pop your earbuds in and can't really watch, but regardless, let me know in the comment section. The second McLaren, you've got Lando Norris at P9. So a good deal. I mean, Carlos is just in command of that team in terms of his performance. So I'll do another video about that another time. But Sergio, hometown hero, at P10. I don't think he went on record to say, look, there's not a lot of pace they can pull out of the car at this point unless they change the setup dramatically. So I think he's going to be punching above his weight. Anything better than this? So it's pretty honest of him, but candid and much appreciated. I think he's right, though. I don't think they're really going to do much better than P8 on the best shot. So he really is squeezing some pretty good sector times out going green. But look for, if he does get better, it'll be honestly an impressive drive. A lot of these cars are actually looking pretty decent in terms of their top end speed. You've actually got the Ferraris at 300. The top end advantage for the Ferrari is unbelievable, and it looks like even with Mercedes turning up a little bit, Ferrari ran a 352 through the speed trap, and that was just Vettel got caught in the speed trap at 352 with Valtteri at 348. So even still, it's 4 kph, and that's just on the one speed trap. So imagine with an extra DRS zone. You've got the Toro Rosso again. They've been looking good basically all weekend, but the second Toro Rosso P11, Kimi looking a little bit better at P12. He's actually better in the rain, so that'll be interesting to see what happens with him tomorrow. Lance consistently there. P13 obviously could be better, especially with Sergio squeezing out a P10. And then you've got the second Alpha, Giovinazzi at 14. 15, 16 are the Haas boys, and there's a pretty big gap between them, mind you. And then you've got George Russell stepping back in his seat. So like I said, Latifi will be taking over P1. I think this was Kubica's turn, right? It was George Russell's turn yesterday. No, it was Kubica's turn yesterday, and then Russell's, and then Kubica. So I think he will take George. This is planned, so it's not like they're upset with Kubica any further than they already were or were not. So just don't be surprised when you see that happen. Both doing 13 laps, but a pretty big margin between the two, the Williams cars, which not terribly surprising. But and then, like I said, P19, P20, there was really no time set for Hülkenberg. It wasn't really a time lap. The issue, and I put it in the blog. Let me make sure I get this right. The issue with the actual Renault car when they talked to the garage was, I believe, a hydraulic issue. So yes, it looks like it was a hydraulic leak, so that is obviously not going to be any good. It was some pollution. That's what it was. It was a little bit of pollution in the actual airflow. So it yielded a hydraulic leak, and they weren't even really able to run. So Ricciardo didn't even get in, and Hülkenberg did a pretty weak run and was like, "Nah, I can't." So he did one lap. So that's basically how all this rounds out. It was a wet track, and it was very there was not a lot of fireworks. Verstappen was impeded coming in P6. Doesn't take from Carlos Sainz's drive. I think that shows that the top cars can bleed, and Carlos didn't tree out of his mind. He didn't have the greatest lap of all time. He just was consistent, Mr. Consistent himself per usual, and the Mercedes aren't holding back. They're just, the Ferraris are that good, and I told you guys this a few days ago, and again, a lot of people said I was wrong, and maybe I still am, but they've tapped into something, and I think it's hitting late in the hybrid era. But I think next year's Ferrari's year, and it's coming on strong, and it's showing again in a session and at a circuit where they don't really have any business winning this race or being this dominant through all the sectors. But Red Bull really needs to own these turns if they have any shot at matching the top end speed, because they can't compete there. And they're really just going to get eaten alive, especially with an extra DRS zone. So look out for maybe a wet qualifying session here soon, but probably a wet race tomorrow. So I'm pretty excited, because they're going to be going fast in this qualifying session, pushing pretty hard to squeeze every ounce of grid spot they possibly can. So I'll be bringing you the qualifying update here soon. And thanks for checking this out, guys. If you're new, subscribe, share. I really can't explain to you how hard this is with this weekend, especially with F1 just blocking a lot. I've seen a lot of people actually talk about it this weekend in particular, just blind content claiming I can't upload a lot of stuff. I'll be shocked if they even get uploaded this in the first try. So it helps. It really does help. And I really appreciate the support, and I want to keep bringing you guys this and keep updating the website and make it something special for you all. So thanks for the support, and I'll see you guys here soon for the qualifying session.